What's up, everybody? Drew Cappuccino here on another episode of Let's Talk Local. Who's in your neighborhood? Hey, listen, if you like what you see, go to our YouTube channel, click that live tab at 216 Creator Studios. Like, share, subscribe, smash that bell so you get the future notifications. We do appreciate the support. Today's host, the hostess of the mostest, Jackie Postolnik's in the house. We are always happy to see Jackie. Jackie, how you doing?
I am fabulous today. It's beautiful weather and feeling good. Yeah.
You know, so you and the magical Brittany over there, we have given me what is this? It is a Lionheart kombucha. Yes. And the first time I've had the wild berry, it's a blueberry. So real quick, Jackie, what do you know about the special drink that's making me feel funny?
Well, if it makes you feel funny, it means that it's probably making you feel good. Yeah.
It's working, right.
So I brought everyone kombucha today because it is a nourishing, delicious drink to have, especially on these hot days. And it supports holistic health. And I think it was, just right in line with who we have in-house today.
Absolutely.
Brittany DuMelle, a licensed acupuncturist and holistic health practitioner. And so I was like, what better way to enjoy our time together while we're learning about her story, learning about what actually is acupuncture. Everyone has an idea, maybe, but what really goes into it? Because there's a lot more than what meets the eye there with just, the pins and needles stuff, right? So we're all just, to have a toast to our guest here today with our kombuchas.
Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So I had to bring Brittany on to the show today because she just has so much to share. She has an interesting story about how she got started. Before we dive into that, I feel like we kind of got to talk about how we met because it's kind of a funny story.
Absolutely.
So a mutual friend of ours was hosting a women's wellness retreat. And funny enough, I got invited to be the chef on this retreat. Am I a chef? No, I am not. I'm not a chef.
She had us fooled though.
Yeah. And, it started off like, we're just cooking for a few people. And then it kept growing and growing. And then it was like 24 women. And I was like, well, here we go. Or maybe it was 23. It was a lot. More than I had been used to, cooking 3 meals a day for 7 days. So
and dessert.
And dessert. Yes.
Jackie made sure there was dessert.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm committed to going to this retreat, and I'm at this point, I'm like 20 something people. Like, I need help. Like, I don't think I could do this by myself. Like, that's a lot. I've never been to the retreat center. It was being held in Punta Gorda, Florida. And I was like, we don't even know what the kitchen looks like. I don't know what I'm working with. So she's like, the girl who was hosting it, our friend Alicia, she's like, oh, well, I have another, practitioner that's going to be having some free time at this retreat. So she pretty much just volunteered Brittany's time and hands. And she was helping me at this retreat essentially as my sous chef and just moral support, when you're working in the kitchen till 3 a.m. and then having to get some sleep and then wake up for breakfast service at 5 or 6. So that was wild.
Wow.
Thank God we liked each other.
Yeah.
Because we spent a lot of time. We had never met before, a day in our life, and it could have went one way or the other, but we ended up being like, oh, hey,
yes.
my sister. She was Aunt Jackie for my kids by the end of the day, the first day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it all began. And, of course, like when you're working, it was seriously like 16 hours a day in that kitchen. We got to know each other really well and just learning her story and her journey. And so I was like, people got to hear about this. So that's kind of one of the first questions I have is, how did you get started in acupuncture or just holistic healing in general?
Yes. Well, for starters, when I was a kid, I was sick a lot, and I was on a lot of medications, things like that, and I ended up in the hospital quite a bit. My mom was like, all right, I'm buying this natural remedies book. And that's kind of like how it started. My mom started giving me vitamins and, garlics and gingers and all the things. And, And all of a sudden I started getting better, you know, and it like progressed. Like I would go months without having an incident and things like that. So that kind of like planted the seed. And it trickled down into my adulthood, you know, becoming a mom and things like that. I wanted to take the more holistic route, you know, always try holistic remedies first. And that's a big part of my life. And so when I was in school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just kept taking classes in undergrad. You know, and then I was going to be a dental hygienist. So I was just about to start the dental hygiene program. I was working at a dentist's office part-time as a receptionist. And anytime somebody had a cold or, I mean, even infertility, like I was like, you need to take this, you need this, you need that. And so I was like this little like witch doctor, they call me, you know. They're like, I'm like, hang some garlic on your door. No, yeah, I'm just kidding. And I kind of always, you know, was always like that, you know, in my adulthood. So this woman came in. She was a regular cleaning, all that, and she came in and she was smiling ear to ear. Like I swear, like her spleen was even smiling. Like she was just like so enlightened. And I've seen her a numerous amount of times because she was such a regular. And I looked at her and, you know, I'm pretty blunt for the most part. And I felt comfortable with her. And I was like, why are you smiling? Like, why are you smiling? And she's like, I just got acupuncture. And everybody behind that desk and like even in the back room that were like taking breaks, the dental hygienists, all the office managers stopped what they were doing, looked at me. They're like, Brittany, you should do acupuncture. And then I thought it was a weekend seminar. No problem. I'd be a licensed acupuncturist and all good.
But no, I mean, so what goes into that? Yeah, I mean, what goes actually into becoming an acupuncturist? So you really took that moment to heart, obviously.
Yeah.
And so then what happened next for you?
I stayed up for like 2 days straight looking for acupuncture colleges. I couldn't find any in Illinois, so I took a trip out to California to look at a school. It was in Los Angeles. To like rent a place out there, 2-bedroom, 1-bath would have been like $3,000 a month. So that didn't work out. And then I came back home and all of a sudden I found a school that was right down the street from my house, 20 minutes away. So it is a graduate program. You do need to get at a minimum of a master's degree. And so I had to work my butt off, you know, in undergrad and get my associates and my bachelor's. And then I began the program 2 years later after that. But I was like determined, you know. It's crazy how a C and D student went from A to B when you finally have a purpose and like a goal in mind. And, you know, the program ended up being about 3.5 years. And we do have a clinic on campus, which was great. So I got to get all of my clinic hours in while I was in school. And it was crazy. Yeah. it was intense, but it was worth every minute of it. By trimester 2, I did not think I was going to make it. But I just kept telling myself every day, one more day, just go to class one more time. Just go one more time.
Because you were going to class while you were pregnant. Is that
midway through?
Okay.
Yep, midway through. So I already had 2 kids at home. Wow. And then midway through the program, I got pregnant around 2019, and I had a COVID baby in the midst of grad school.
But you did it.
I did it. I got people watching me.
Yeah,
little people.
So yeah, I mean, that's you were able to like persevere. You said that you felt connected to your vision, and that was your way. I mean, it was seemingly like so aligned for you because you've already seen how holistic methods can help you when you were a kid and getting better and just improving people's lives, right? So I think that from what you had told me before, that was like a big driver for you, is just helping people improve their lives. And so beyond like beyond the acupuncture, I mean, maybe there's some people listening that they don't actually know what acupuncture involves. Can you just explain maybe just like, briefly kind of what actually happens in acupuncture?
Yes. So acupuncture is the insertion of very superficial insertion of tiny needles. Sometimes people have this perception that they've had an IV at one point, or they've had a shot and the needles are like huge. So it's fun to compare like a sewing thread, a paper clip, and an acupuncture needle, and the comparison is like not even fair because the needle is so tiny, and it is very superficially inserted. I guess the best way to describe that would be it is along the nerves, all of our nerve roots and endings and things like that. So it does, this insertion of the needle stimulates the nerve pathways to help cellular regeneration. Diet, lifestyle, are you sleeping? What's your emotional state right now? And what's your environment even, externally, all of that can all play a part and can slow down the process of cellular regeneration. And if we don't produce the correct stem cells, in our bodies, then, we start to have some disorders and disharmonies, physical manifestations, chronic pains, acute pains, from back pain to having like constantly getting sinus infections and things like that. That's going to be an indication that something is not regenerating itself. So by inserting the needles, it helps our body do what it's programmed to do. And it lights it up.
So is it fair to say that it's these techniques try to bring balance into the body? Is that the right way to say it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when in a lot of acupuncture kind of places or books or whatever, they have the yin and yang symbol.
Yeah, yin
right?
and yang is everything.
Yes, because it's the symbol of balance.
Yes.
And so it was always so fascinating to me because before I met you and learned really more about it, I was like, why would anyone do this? This is crazy. Why would somebody go through this pain? But it's really not like that at all. And I've received many treatments from Brittany, and there's what do you call it? Like spicy points.
Spicy, yes.
There's spicy points, but it's not a pain. It's just like, but it's like, what's, choose your heart. Do you want to have, this little tiny superficial needle on you, or do you want to have like these like sometimes lifelong or chronic sufferings that can be alleviated with these seemingly simple techniques, but they're not simple. I mean, you had lots of schooling to be knowing how these things work and being able to adjust your methods with the specific person that you have. So another fun thing about acupuncture that I learned is how the tongue is played in. Like we're not putting needles on people's tongues, right? But like explain that, because I think that people are always surprised. Like, how can you tell what's wrong with me by looking at my tongue?
Actually, yes, that was a huge hit at the women's retreat. All the women were coming up to me, "Can you look at my tongue? What's wrong with me?" And
God, I'm scared for you to look at my tongue.
I'll look at it later.
Yeah.
Weird.
So yes, one of our treatment strategies for diagnosis purposes, we do learn tongue and pulse techniques. And a lot of people, when I am checking their pulse, they're like, "I have high blood pressure," or "I did it, I had coffee." I'm like, "That's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking to feel the characteristics." So along with the pulse and the tongue and both, they are connected to our insides. They are connected to organs. So the specific placements, you got the outer ring of the tongue, that's going to be the liver and gallbladder. You got the tip of the tongue, that's going to be the lung and the heart. You got the middle, that's like the stomach and spleen. So your digestive functions. And then kind of towards the back is going to be like the kidney and bladder. And so depending on certain characteristics, certain colors, textures, is it quivering, is it short, is there a crack down the center? These are all things that we look for to help us make our Oriental medicine diagnosis. And it's super accurate way of kind of like, okay, this is what we should work on. It's more reliable sometimes to depend on the tongue diagnosis, especially on a first treatment with somebody who's very new and nervous for acupuncture. Maybe they don't want to talk about in depth what's been going on with them. So yeah, the tongue is a great way to kind of really confirm what disharmonies are going on in the body and what should we really focus on to balance that.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, that's interesting. So I guess I'm going to talk layman's terms because I'm not going to pretend to know what you know on any of this stuff, but I can tell you I've seen the picture of the human body with the tree, right? It's the tree, neurological system and how everything's connected to everything. And so these fine needles, I had it done once. You don't even feel them. You really don't, unless you're super hypersensitive, I guess, then maybe you can. And then sometimes they're like lit on fire, which, and by the way, Spicy Point sounds like a barbecue sauce, which made me excited and hungry. But so I love how you break that down and say, hey, listen, everything's connected to everything. So when something's off or something's not right, it will indicate on your tongue, or it'll indicate signs of maybe failure or blockage. Yes. Is that about right?
Stagnation, blockage.
Yep. And so, if you were to look at a patchy tongue, right, you would be like, oh, right off the bat, we probably need to focus on these points, right?
Yes.
So it's like clue finding, like you're using these to gather the clues to, like you said, to make the diagnosis or just to choose the proper treatment. Like this is not a one size fits all type of thing, right? And also too, I think it's important for people to know that this a lot of times is not instead of other types of medical treatment. It's a lot of times in support of other types of.
I love how you say that, Jackie. Because listen, when I talk to holistic people, a lot of times they're like, never ever go to a hospital or a doctor or anything. What do you consider a good balance to that? Because you know what, big pharma, right? We get it. Yeah. We understand how that whole works, but we were all born and raised in a scenario and in a system to where if you don't feel well, you go see the doctor, right? And back in the day, even with chiropractors, doctors were like, chiropractors are just witch doctors, right? But now they're like, you should probably go see a chiropractor.
Yeah.
So it works hand in hand. What is your belief system to that? How that works hand in hand to holistic to, hey, you probably should go see somebody.
Yeah, definitely. So integrative health, I like to consider it, and I can speak on behalf of myself. The Western system has a great emergency system. Like something really serious is happening, you're going to go to the hospital, and for the quickest and safest treatment for that circumstances. Something that we leave out in the Western medicine, I feel, is preventative and then maintenance, like post-care, right? So if we could work together, preventative, get your acupuncture, get your cupping, get your gua sha, take your vitamins, emergency situations, or, you're truly very, sick, not feeling well, you go to the doctor. Take your antibiotics or whatever they're looking for to give you. And then after you're done, come on, let's work on restoring, some of the things that were lost during that, time that you had to take the prescriptions. I think is great. Post-surgical, a lot of people have to get certain surgeries and nothing else worked, and this is their only option. And I have to accept that as an acupuncturist sometimes too, that this is not working right now, but let me help you get better after your surgery. Because a lot of the time, post-surgical is our bodies, they're so amazing. They want to heal the area that was, sliced and diced, essentially. So a lot of coagulation is going to go to that. And that's when scar tissue develops and inflammation. So a lot of people who don't realize that, hey, let me get some gua sha on my scar.
What did you call me?
Or even acupuncture, to break up the scar tissue so that you don't have limited range of motion or you don't continue to have pain. So I think an integrative system would be so amazing. And some hospitals like St. Alexis, Elmhurst Memorial, they are starting to integrate acupuncturists in their facilities. It's more, like I said, post-surgical, like chronic pain supportive. They don't totally realize that like it's even more than that. Like acupuncture can help with more, but it's a start. And I think a lot of people are starting to get that too.
Well, and I think too, I love how you say pre, post, right? So a lot of people work reactive.
Mm-hmm.
They come to you and they're like, I have a problem. When they should be coming to you so they don't get a problem, right? I mean, that's kind of like working ahead of the game. So you go through some treatments. So what is the balance of that business? You get a lot of reactive people that are like, listen, I got all these problems, I need help. Or do you get a lot of people who be like, listen, I'm just looking to stay healthy so I don't have all these problems into my future?
Yeah, so especially in the beginning of my acupuncture career, like I'm talking in school when I was in the clinic, which you do start pretty early on. I had these patients who were like last ditch effort. They've tried everything and anything, and they are so desperate, but yet they don't believe in it whatsoever, like at all. Like they are so like non-believers, but they're so desperate, and this is it. This is their last ditch effort, and they don't think that they can be helped. So the start of my career was very much like that. Those were the people that I was treating, and I remember one of my first patients in the clinic. She was like that. Like she was gonna get this whole spinal like readjustment surgery and all these plates and this, and this, and she was really, really scared, and she had tried everything, and she was just all the shots, those weren't working anymore, and she was desperate. So I'll never forget, she called the school clinic and she told them to let me know to leave a message for me, which was like unheard of, right? I'm just an intern, and to let my clinician know and everybody know that she woke up this morning dancing. And it was a couple months. She had to come in 2 times a week. We were alternating acupuncture with cupping and gua sha therapy. She was working with some vitamin recommendations and suggestions. And 2.5 months in, she called me and she was like, I woke up dancing for the first time in 10 years.
Wow.
So in the beginning, mostly that worst case scenario, desperate. I don't know what else to do. I'm throwing in the towel, like just let me die, sort of situations. But now, actually just yesterday, I had a younger patient come in and be like, nothing's totally wrong. I just want to make sure that nothing totally wrong happens to me. And I wanted to start incorporating this in my monthly regimen. So that is actually happening more so now, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Taking care of yourself, growing up in my household, there wasn't much of, hey, listen, if you got a headache, take an aspirin. Or there was a lot of suck it up buttercup in my house. I'm a Gen Xer, obviously. But my parents were like, hey, listen, if there's a severe problem, then we go to the doctor. But this is more like, hey, you brush your teeth, right? You take care of those. Why? Because they're important to you. Take care of your feet, right? Because they carry you through life. You should probably do that. This is one of those things that probably you should look at. If you're looking at labels to diet right and do better with your life and eat right, take those chemicals out of your life, going to somebody like Brittany, just to, stay on top of your game. Nobody wants to be sick. Being sick, it's stupid, but also our immune systems need it in order to grow stronger. So I think it's one of those things that having it in your life is better than not having it. 100%.
100.
Yeah.
Yes.
100.
Yeah. I mean, I live my life by those principles for sure, like very much about preventative as much as possible. And so, yeah, this is great. And now, like, you've thrown out a few terms that maybe a lot of people probably haven't heard, right? Gua sha, like what is
Yes.
like, okay, so you said gua sha and then you also said cupping.
Mhm.
which is like, I'm just giving people some visuals, I'm sure. So like, let's clarify that.
Yes, yes.
Do you want me to bring up some pictures of those?
Oh yeah,
while we
you got
talk about it?
pictures. Yeah, let's show them, and then we
Let's
can
do
dive
that.
into that. That'd be great.
So it looks like with beautiful logo, by the way.
Thank you.
So what are we looking at here, real quick? Just so we get to the cupping part. What are we looking? What are we looking at here?
Yes, these are gua sha pieces. I have a couple different materials up there. One being a stainless steel, and then the two greener ones are jade. So it's a stone, basically. It's a stone massage, kind of, right? But so gua sha literally translates to scraping away of diseases. It was one of the first modalities, thousands of years back in, China and Eastern part of the world where this originates from. Somebody literally picked up a stone or a buffalo horn and started scraping it along your spine. And just the act of doing that, they started to see all these, it's called petechiae. It's basically the colors and the characteristics, kind of like speckles. Sometimes you can have red or purple. And
On your skin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, on the skin when you do the scraping. And when you do it along the spine, along each vertebrae, has two nerves coming out. And these nerves have important jobs. They innervate your organs. So by scraping along the spine, you can literally see what is going on in the body, and you can start to break up some of that stagnation, and that would look like a more purple color. You can start to release some toxins in the body, lymphatic drainage, and that's going to look like a bunch of specks in the body, on the body. Or you can release some heat, and that's going to be more bright red. So all of these colors and characteristics, kind of indicate, heat's going to be, well, your organs are overworking themselves, things like that. Maybe you got a little too much sun. It can come out like that. And that's what it would look like. Gua sha, over the last few years, has really gone out into the beauty industry. And I'm not mad about it at all. I know the background and the history of it. And also, knowing what I know about it, there's so much, a lot of our meridians or highways, pathways in the body start or end on the face. So these women who have, added gua sha in their beauty regimen think that, I'm just sculpting
Yeah.
sculpting my face, making my jawline better, or bringing, more of a blood to the complexion to give you that glow. That they think that that's just what they're doing. And I'm like, yes, you are literally breaking up stagnation, and you're working on meridians in the body just by gua sha in your face. So
I got one in my purse.
Yeah.
I carry it around with me everywhere.
So gua sha is, hands down, what I really dove deep into gua sha. It was in accessories classes. She did just my professor did a 5-minute presentation on gua sha, and I was like, no, this is amazing. What else can I do with this? So honestly, sometimes with people who are afraid of sitting with needles, we will start with more of an acupressure gua sha treatment. And you know what? It's just as effective.
Is that what's shown there is more of an acupressure in that picture?
That one is actually, there is a tiny needle in my hand, and I was actually stimulating it. Yeah, so that's how, you can't even tell. That's how tiny the needles are.
Yeah. Okay. So that was an example.
There's the cupping.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Since a rocket ship through all the
Oh
pictures.
my gosh.
We'll go back. But no, so we were talking about cupping, right? So this is this is interesting.
Yes.
Right? This is the octopus attack here.
Yes, squid
Right.
kisses.
Yes. So what is it? So when you pull this, and this is done by heat, right?
So there's a couple methods to cupping. If you can see, there's 2 different types of cups on her back. One is a more roundish glass style. That's the fire cupping. And then the ones with the little blue tips, that's going to be the suction cupping.
Okay.
Yes.
And the difference between the two would do what? What does that do?
So there's a couple differences. I personally prefer fire cupping. It is with a glass material. No heat goes on the body whatsoever. People think that I'm like sitting there burning them. Actually, so you put like a cotton ball or, we have this like little chamber thing. It's really cool. And you put some alcohol and you light that on fire and you put it in the cup to take out the oxygen. So that it will stick to the body. Yep. Yes, yep. Exactly. Works as like a vacuum. And that is great. I love to do sliding cupping with the glass material with the fire cupping. It's wonderful, feels good. And then the suction cups, I kind of just use those just to kind of take up some space. It's just like a little gun. You just ting, 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 ting.
That's the weirdest sounding gun I've ever heard in my life. Right. Bam, bam. Like a thug. Jackie, have you ever had this done?
I sure have.
Tell us about your experience about having it done.
Yeah, it was very relaxing. And so I had the convenience and pleasure of having this done in my own Zen den at my house.
Whoa.
I have a whole Zen den where I do my yoga, and I have a infrared sauna down there and all the crystals and all the beautiful things. So it's just a really great place to relax. And so Brittany came over and brought her table, and she did a whole treatment. I don't remember, she's come over so many times where I don't remember the exact sequence, but receiving the cupping is, you just lay there. There's nice music. She moves them around, like after she notices where the petechiae is coming, and kind of, does that as a treatment so that you can, gain a benefit from it. Like whether it's like, oh, you have a lot of, what do you call it? Chi, like build up in like your kidneys areas or something, and so, so it's just there to like bring that additional balance. And so can you remind me, do you do the needles and then you do cupping, or is it always on separate days? Like, tell me about that. Cause I can't remember the sequence that we went through the last time.
Yeah. So my perfect sequence is actually starting out with cupping and gua sha, or one or the other. I like to do this. I prefer to do this because it relaxes the body. It kind of starts to prepare the canvas, essentially, because,
that's a good way to put it.
Spicy points, right? When we're more tense, or, there's certain variables that will cause more points to be spicy upon insertion. So by, kind of prepping the body with more relaxation, it's less likely to have spicy points. Also, it is very helpful, again, with diagnosis, because then I can see like where exactly, combined with the tongue and pulse diagnosis, doing the cupping and gua sha is actually very beneficial for me to see, okay, yep, this is definitely the problem area. Let's focus on like the points for this particular spot,
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was great. I'm due for a session. Yes, I know I'm due for a session. So yeah, we'll have to get that book now. Okay. So then that kind of brings up, like, where do people find you to get these services? I know that you have an awesome Instagram handle where you post videos about, informing people and doing, like, showing them how to use a gua sha tool. A lot of women have these tools, right? They got it in a little spa kit or something, but maybe they really don't know how to use it or use it right. And so these videos can really help you to learn. But, outside of connecting with you online and through your socials, like, how can people find you and receive a service?
Yes. So I am at a couple different spots. I do community acupuncture the first Monday of every month at a place called The Journey's Path in West Chicago. Community acupuncture, it's what it sounds like, right? Community, people can come in as groups. You could bring a friend. You sit together, different chairs, different recliners. We got some couches in there. And it's a cheaper way to introduce yourself to acupuncture. So it is a sliding scale. So I'm there the first Monday of every month at The Journey's Path. And then I'm also at Thrive Acupuncture in Schaumburg. I'm there Tuesday, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
Yeah.
And that's where you can book a more private session with me. We also take insurance there, certain insurances, or, cash pay as well. And then, you get more of the full experience, and it's more private one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a beautiful place. Really easy to get to in Schaumburg. Plenty of parking. Like, it's very discreet and very calming energy in that place, I would say.
Right by Costco too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. A little shopping.
Yes.
Get some needles stuck in you. Is that onpointglow.com? Is that your site?
Yeah, so that is my gua sha website. That is where I wanted to share some products with people that I use at a treatment with me. A lot of, my patients will be like, where do I get one of those? So I'm very passionate about like the materials and things like that, because, a lot of places will claim that they're selling jade and it's actually aventurine. And I know that sounds like silly, but for me, it's a big deal because jade is so much more healing. It has a lot more healing properties and things like that. Aventurine is beautiful. It's great. I'm sure it's got stuff too. But for these purposes, jade is a great material.
You have the real deal.
Yeah, real deal.
Yeah.
Listen, folks, onpointglow.com. Check it out. Be curious. It won't kill this cat. If you don't want the river rock that was pulled out of the swamp painted green and called jade, we know who to go to. Also, we have scrolling at the bottom there for people to connect with you on Instagram, correct? That's b_on_glow_ACU.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. Is there any other point of contact that you'd like to throw out there?
That's kind of my main one.
Those your go-tos?
Yeah, I have an email address that I don't recall right now.
Yeah.
So let's just say those are my main.
Check out the website, folks. And so, we're going to kind of come back to this. Now, this looks like a cigar, but it's not, I'm going to assume. What are we looking at here, Brittany?
Yeah, it's just a nice Cuban after we're done with the treatment.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Nice.
Totally kidding.
Is it, though?
I don't want to smoke that's for sure. No, so this is actually an herb. It's called moxibustion. It is mugwort. It is a very healing herb we use in a lot of treatments. No, you do not burn the skin by any means, but you do place it on certain points. One of the main things that people know or have heard of moxa is are pregnant women who are almost due and their baby is in breech position. This actually happened to me, so it was incredible. So I'll share a little bit with that story. It's super quick. I was 36 weeks pregnant, did the ultrasound. My youngest, he was completely sideways. So I was no longer able to be seen by the midwives anymore, and I had to go to the doctor, right? I had to go by the OBGYN. And he was like, okay, you have to schedule your C-section. And he's like, sign here. And I looked at him, I was like, I'll sign. I'm like, but I'll see you in a week and my baby's going to be flipped. And he laughed at me and he's like, ow. I'm like, acupuncture. And then he really, really laughed. And, this was during COVID. Everything was closed down. Yep. Clinic was closed down. I was still, freshly new to the program. I think I was just about a year in, maybe under. I called my professor, Dr. Fan. Dr. Fan, help me, my baby's sideways. And she's like, okay, calm down. Start doing moxa on your pinky toe, the corner, the more lateral side, do the moxa every single day for 1 week leading up to your appointment, and your baby will flip over. So this point is called bladder 67, and, Pinion has very beautiful calligraphy, it has very nice artwork. So it literally looks like a baby flipping. It literally looks like something's turning. So
you're talking about the
acupuncture point name.
Got it.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
oh, I
yes.
see. Okay.
So it turns, it flips babies. It gets them in position.
It flips babies.
Yes. Yeah,
I love it.
And a week later comes, get the ultrasound, baby's in position, and and that was all from this beautiful little cigar-looking stick, moxibustion. But that's not limited to just that. It has so many properties that we utilize it a lot in our treatments as well.
How much was your doctor laughing after you said I told you so?
He, actually, he shook my hand and he was very like cool about it. And he was like, acupuncture.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then I don't know what he did with that. Maybe he refers patients. That would be really cool.
You never
if
know.
he did.
That changes people.
Yeah.
If you prove something.
Yeah, have an experience with
that's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's undeniable at that point. What is that?
This looks like some kind of laser tool out of Star Trek.
Yeah, so this is us going to space.
Right.
With a bunch of needles in your face.
Nice.
Why does that rhyme? And I like that. Turn that into a song.
It works. I liked it.
No, so this is actually offered at my spot in Schaumburg at Thrive. This is called the Saluma Red Light Therapy. It's a great also like additive to add to a treatment for specific things. This one in particular, we're doing more of a cosmetic treatment here. So she's got a lot of cosmetic points in her face, and then she's got the red light over it. So you can change the different lighting and the settings to more like wrinkles and acne, but also has like good for pain. It's also great for working on a more cellular level. I use it a lot with pain, infertility, both men and women. If you're not healing properly, like you add that with every acupuncture like treatment. And with the needles being inserted, it kind of opens up the pores in a sense, right? And you put that on top of it, not on it like laying, but as you can see, it's curved over and not touching any of the needles. And it will stimulate and penetrate even deeper on a more cellular level to really jumpstart a healing journey. It works great with things that are just not healing fast enough, or and it's been really great to add that to a lot of our treatments.
Oh, that's cool.
That is,
I've never even heard of that. All right, what do we got next? Oh, we're back to acupuncture.
So this is a cool picture because if you can see the redness around the point, that is called a Da Qi sensation. And basically that translates to the histamine response. Literally our bodies are like, oh, this was a good point. Like, good job, doc.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar with, when you have a bruise and it's starting to heal and it kind of starts to get itchy. That's the histamine response. Like, okay, this is almost the end of this bruise being here, right? I know my mom's like, oh, you got itchy. It's getting better. It's getting better. So essentially, this is what that is. And when an acupuncturist sees a Da Qi sensation like that, they're like, yes, doing the happy dance.
That's cool.
Right, because there's a huge part, most of this is scientific. Like, all of the meridians. You mentioned like the what point on the toe. What did you call that? The
Ladder 67.
Yeah. See, like there's all of these numbers. Like I don't know how many there are, like hundreds or thousands or whatever.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, and so you're very educated on these very, very precise points, and they might be different slightly, on one person to the other because of your composition, or if you're just like a little
anatomy,
bit, in your anatomy. And so, yeah, it's just really cool to know that you have that. But then there is that also element of like intuition part of like knowing what is good for that person in that specific time. So, that's really cool.
I love it. So she's very well versed, very educated in what she does. Love the fact that you could just throw it out on the table off a whim without being like, yeah, let me get back to you on that. You've been doing this a while, and you've probably helped many people through time through this type of holistic medicine. And the one thing I want to ask, because I'm very ignorant to acupuncture once again, but I'm looking at this picture and I'm like, okay, so the top of the needle is thicker than the bottom of the needle. Is that just so you can get it in the skin, or is there reasoning for that?
Yeah, it's essentially like a handle. So it does, it's, Yes, it makes it a little bit heavier at the top, and then you can use a guide tube, or you can like
That's what I was going to ask. I've seen
yeah.
the ones with the tubes where they slide the tube over it, and then they kind of give it this little like,
they
hey,
tap
how
it
you
right
doing?
in.
And it pats it down, right?
Yes.
So I'm looking at these. I'm like, man, these are like throwing darts, aren't they?
Yes, actually, at like in class one time, this acupuncturist, he was from Asia, and he went ding, right in this point bladder one, and like,
whoa,
he made it. Like,
whoa,
that is a thing.
Wait, on a person or like on the
On a person?
There's a lot of
Yeah.
trust that went on right there.
On a person, yes. On my professor, yeah.
That is so cool.
And he trusted him wholeheartedly. He's like, this man knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to be throwing any darts, but I prefer a guide tube.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would too, as the patient. Thank you.
Wow, this has been so great hearing about all this. I know a lot about it, but when we just have dedicated conversations to learning about your craft and learning how the intricacies of how it actually works, from the ground up. A lot of people may not know, if you've been thinking about going into acupuncture, right? There are, I think, more times than not where you have to have some entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Absolutely.
And so, it's because of the nature of it, the Western medicine system hasn't fully caught up to coming hand in hand with these techniques, right? So I think that it's evolving that way, right? I think even the Mercy Health system is starting to integrate some of those things too. I believe I saw on their website. And so, yeah, I think that it's evolving to that. But what I think people need to know, if they're thinking about starting the journey of becoming an acupuncturist, to consider it's not just like, oh, you graduate and then like you're going to get hired and have a salary and all this stuff. There's a little bit of like self-promotion, right? And getting yourself out there and, right. So it's like, what kind of advice would you give for people who wants to start their own, become an acupuncturist and then start their own business as you have?
Yeah. So super thankful to be here right now because of that. It's been so great of you guys receiving me and all the information I've been throwing at you. And I'm thrilled. Thank you for the kind words. But doing things like this and accepting that there will be ebbs and flows. And I guess something that is exciting for me is it kind of reminds me of like a revolution. And I'm such a like a rebel, so like this was like such a perfect thing for me to be a part of. And it's a great thing. But yeah, you definitely, have to put yourself out there in chambers and commerce meetings, talking about this. And not everybody is going to receive you as like kind as you guys have. And I've had that plenty of times. I remember this guy laughed at me that I went to graduate school for this, so, and just, remembering that why did you start this? Like, there is always a reason for somebody to get into this sort of career path. So there will be ebbs and flows, stay with it, keep putting yourself out there, and it gets easier. I remember the first time asking to exchange business cards with somebody. I like felt so silly. Like now I'm like, hey, want to exchange? Like, I sit down at a table at a Chambers and Commerce meeting and I'm already handing them all out. And it's just like such a norm to do. Everybody, we're all here. We're all trying to do something in this lifetime. Like, let's work together. Let's help one another to get out there. But it does come with some backlash sometimes, with everything.
That's anything.
Yeah.
Listen, you go to college, and I know somebody who helps prep for that. She's pretty awesome too. Listen, you go to college, the big expectation, I'm going to go and I'm going to become this person, right? And then I'm going to graduate and I'm going to make $250,000 a year. No. 9 times out of 10, you decide that you're going to change midway because my brother said it right. He was my mentor. When he was alive, he said, there's only one thing that really stands true to heart. No matter what you absolutely believe in to be true in your heart will change through time because you start seeing and experiencing and getting through certain situations in life, right? So college is one of those. And so as an instructor in culinary, it was everybody was going to graduate and become Charlie Trotter. Everybody was going to be the new Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
A year later, they're doing construction. So it's one of those things. You have to stay true to your craft. You got to stay true to yourself. And in order to move forward, which is the hardest thing as an entrepreneur and a coach for entrepreneurs, is what I am, is one of the things that you have to, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business what people think of you. If you live your rule to that, success will gain, because the people who are really thriving on what you're doing, that's the atmosphere you need to surround yourself in order to grow. Yes. Is it going to be easy? No. Otherwise, they call it a happy fun time, and everybody can do it, right? It's still called a job, even though it's yours. And now that it's yours, it's even harder because you can only rely on you. You're going to have your good days and bad days, just like anything else. Very impressed, Brittany, with what you've learned, what you've shared with us today, and the business that of helping others. I absolutely love it. Jackie knows that I am a huge fan of trying to help as many people as I possibly can.
Yes.
So.
Well, it's no coincidence that we all gravitated to meet each other.
Correct.
So for that reason, I believe. So yeah, this has been so great. Any other final questions for the expert on the floor?
I don't. A couple things. I want barbecue sauce now. I got stuck in my head. For the spicy points. Thanks for the wild blueberry, by the way, from you two. I don't know who got that for me, but it was awesome. You know what? It makes me want to check it out. You know, I want to go experience it, you know, kind of thing. And I am definitely not the healthiest person on the planet. As a matter of fact, I should be the poster child for a bunch of things of what not to do as a chef. If it didn't have butter or bacon, it wasn't right. And so, but never trust a skinny chef. So, hey, you know, how do you balance that act, right? No, I don't really have any more questions. I think, you know, she's very well versed in what she does, Jackie. And I was, you know, honored and humbled for her to even be here sharing her story with us. At the studio. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No. Well, actually, yes, of course. I always say no, and then I keep going on. Signature move over here. So the one other thing about acupuncturists is that because you're, you know, especially you're trying new studios and new clinics, right, to see what will like ultimately work out for you. You have to have with those ebbs and flows comes pivoting and comes those things. Now you're at Thrive right now, but that's why it's important to stay connected with Brittany on her Instagram and following her website and everything, because that's where her updates will be if she ever is pivoting and trying out new locations or doing offsite events. If she's a part of a retreat, right? Come and enjoy these wonderful healing retreats. Just immerse yourself into that health realm. And it's a really great environment to try those different types of techniques and modalities. So I just want to emphasize to people, just follow her on the Instagram, go see her at Thrive in Schaumburg, and go and elevate your life.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all of this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Yes. Thanks for being here, and we appreciate you. Okay, folks. So hey, listen, from 216 Creator Studios, I am Drew Cappuccino, host of the day, the mostest of the day, Jackie Postelnick. Until next time, talk local, listen global.
Peace.